You feel it before you see it. The engine drops a gear on its own. The hood tips up until the road ahead is just sky, and for a second you cannot see the far side at all. Only the climb, the rusted rail inches from your mirror, and a semi filling the lane beside you with nowhere to go. This is the I-10 bridge in Lake Charles. Louisiana has feared it for 70 years. They call it a lot of things down here. The White Knuckle Bridge, the Stairway to Heaven. A couple of British guys drove it a while back, filmed the whole thing for TikTok, and could barely finish a sentence. One of them just kept saying it looked like the road was going into space. And that is the part outsiders never understand until they are on it. This is not some forgotten back road relic. This is Interstate 10, one of the busiest arteries in the entire southern United States. The road you take to get from Florida to California. And for a stretch of about 1.5 miles in southwest Louisiana, that interstate rears up off the ground, narrows down, strips away every shoulder and every safety net, and asks 90,000 people a day to just trust it. Today we are looking at how a bridge this feared stayed standing this long. Why the people who cross it every morning learn to hold their breath instead of demanding it be fixed. And why the replacement that is finally actually being built right now, as you watch this, is arriving something like 30 years after everyone already knew it had to. Before we get into it, if you like the kind of story where the thing hiding in plain sight turns out to be the most interesting part, do me a favor and subscribe. It genuinely helps. And I want to hear it in the comments. Have you driven this bridge? Because the people who have tend to have a story. Drop your town, drop your white knuckle moment. Let's get into it. The climb. Start with the shape of the thing, because the shape is the whole problem. The Calcasieu River Bridge was built to let ships pass underneath it. Big industrial ships, headed for the refineries and chemical plants upriver. So the engineers of the early 1950s did the only thing they knew how to do. They threw the roadway way up into the air to clear the masts. The deck crests somewhere around 135 feet over the water, and to get you up there in the short distance available, they gave it a grade that in places runs close to 5% near the top. In plain terms, it is steep. Steep enough that a loaded 18-wheeler grinds. Steep enough that as you come over the crest, the far downslope simply disappears from view, and for a heartbeat you are driving toward nothing but open Louisiana sky. Now take that steep, blind climb and remove everything that would make it survivable. There are no shoulders. None. If your engine dies at the top, there is no lane to coast into, no strip of pavement to change a tire, no room to turn around. There are 2 narrow lanes in each direction and a low rail, and on the other side of that rail is a long way down. There is barely any lighting, so at night the whole structure runs on headlights and nerve. It is, by design, a place with no margin for error, and it was built in an era when a big traffic day meant a fraction of what rolls across it now. Built to fail on schedule. Here is the fact that reframes everything. This bridge was never supposed to still be here. It opened to traffic in 1952, back when it wasn't even part of the interstate. It was U.S. Highway 90, built under Governor Earl K. Long, before the interstate system as we know it fully existed. It got folded into I-10 later, in the 1960s, essentially grandfathered in. And like most American bridges of its generation, it was engineered for a service life of about 50 years. 50, that was the deal. Build it, use it for half a century, replace it. Do the math on that. 50 years from 1952 lands you at 2002. That is the year this bridge was, on paper, supposed to be finished. It is now more than 70 years old. We have been driving on borrowed time for over 2 decades, and the traffic tells the same story of a structure asked to do far more than it was ever meant to. When it was designed, planners expected something in the neighborhood of 37,000 vehicles a day. Today it carries around 90,000. It is running at more than double the load it was born for, on a body that expired years ago, with no shoulders to catch anyone when it goes wrong. Federal inspectors rate the nation's bridges on a scale, and this one is scored down in the single digits out of 100, the kind of number that gets a structure branded, officially, as deficient. the reputation. A bridge like that does not stay quiet. It writes its reputation in wrecks. The worst one goes back to 1981. An expansion joint on the deck failed and tore open the fuel tank of a passing 18-wheeler. The spill triggered a chain reaction pileup. 26 vehicles in all. 3 people were killed. 18 more were hurt. And decades later, that exact nightmare nearly repeated itself. In 2024, a driver happened to spot a problem with an expansion joint and flagged it in time for the state to reroute traffic before anyone else paid for it. The everyday toll is quieter but relentless. In 2006, 2 truck drivers went right off the bridge, the kind of wreck that locals will tell you is the one they fear most up there. Because on that deck there is nowhere to swerve and nothing to stop you. In the icy pileup of January 2024, a man died after jumping from the bridge amid the chaos on the deck. And in the years since 2018 alone, more than 100 people have been injured in crashes on this single span, not over its whole history, in just the last several years. The state's position, for what it's worth, has always been that the bridge is regularly inspected and remains safe to cross. And there is a bleakly funny illustration of how much people believe that. When President Biden came to Lake Charles in 2021 to talk about crumbling infrastructure, using this very bridge as his backdrop, his Exhibit A, a rumor spread that his own Secret Service wouldn't let his motorcade drive across it. Officials denied it. But think about what it says that the rumor was so easy to believe. The story fit. That is the thing about this bridge. Everyone already assumed the worst, and nobody was surprised. 30 years of asking. Which brings us to the real subject here. Not the bridge, the waiting. Because the danger was never a secret. People in southwest Louisiana have been begging for a new crossing since the 1980s. That is the Reagan administration. That is before a huge share of the people driving it today were even born. For roughly 40 years, generation after generation of local officials, truckers, and commuters raised their hands and said, "This thing is going to kill somebody." And the answer, over and over, was later. It became a kind of national mascot for the whole problem. In 1919, President Trump stood up and promised that if he were re-elected, this bridge would get fixed. 2 years later, President Biden used it as the poster child for his infrastructure push. 2 different presidents, from 2 different parties, pointing at the same rusting span and saying the same thing. Look how bad it's gotten. When both sides of American politics agree your bridge is a disgrace, and it still takes years after that to break ground, you start to understand the real story. The engineering was never the hard part. We knew how to build a better bridge in 2002. We knew in 1995. The hard part was the money, the will, and the sheer inertia of a country that tends to fix its infrastructure only after the funeral, not before. If you're enjoying this, that subscribe button really does help the channel keep making videos like this one. No pressure, just a tap. What's finally coming? So what does it take in the end to replace America's most feared bridge? It takes about $2.5 billion, the largest single transportation investment in the history of the state of Louisiana. It took a federal mega grant of $150 million to get the momentum going, and then a deal structure the state had to reach for because the normal way was never going to be fast enough. A public-private partnership where a private consortium designs it, builds it, finances it, and then operates and maintains it for the next 50 years. That's how you get a bridge sooner instead of someday. It's also why, for the first time, drivers here are going to have to pay a toll to cross a river they've crossed free their entire lives. And that part has not gone down easy. Ground was broken in 2026. Crews are building the new span right beside the old one, so traffic keeps moving on the current bridge the whole time. The plan has drivers shifting over to the new structure around 2030, with the full project wrapping in 2031. Then the old bridge, the stairway to heaven, the white-knuckle climb, comes down. And the new one is everything the old one wasn't. It's lower and far less steep, so the blind engine-grinding climb is gone. It's wider With 3 lanes each direction plus extra merging room. It has full shoulders, an actual place to pull over and survive a breakdown. It has lighting. It is, in every measurable way, the bridge that should have existed a quarter century ago. But here's the detail I love. That old bridge is famous locally for one strange flourish. Its rails are lined with thousands of crossed Derringer pistols, a nod to the pirate lore woven into this stretch of the Louisiana coast. And the designers of the new bridge chose not to erase it. The new lighting will echo the shape of the old trusses, and the pylons will carry sculptures of those same crossed pistols. The thing that terrified everyone for 70 years is going to leave a ghost behind in the thing that replaces it. The gap. So here is what this story is really about. And it isn't the bridge, it's the gap. The distance between the moment a country knows something is dangerous and the moment it finally acts. For this one span, that gap was measured in decades, in 2 design lifetimes stacked end to end, in 100 injuries in just the recent years, in presidents of both parties pointing at the same rust, and still nothing moving. The bridge didn't hide what it was. It announced it every single day, in the drop of every gear on the climb, in every driver who took a breath at the bottom and let it out at the far side. We just decided, collectively, for 40 years, that later was good enough. It usually is, right up until it isn't. And Louisiana got lucky. The new bridge is going up beside the old one before the old one had the final word. That is not the way this story always ends in America, where thousands of aging bridges are still out there carrying traffic they were never built to hold, waiting on money that hasn't come. The climb into the sky is finally going away. It's just worth remembering, as it comes down, how long everyone knew it had to, and how close we always let it get.